everyone. Welcome to the Greater Purpose Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Chenard, and today I'm excited to have Thomas Regier. Thomas has been a coach at Greater Purpose Health and Fitness. He just did a quick little wave there if you guys can't see. For 5 years now. He has a kinesiology degree. He is the COO of GPHF. GPHF is way easier to say than Greater Purpose Health and Fitness. His wife is Darby, and he has a energetic dog named Neville. He is also on TikTok and has almost 50,000 followers for cryptocurrency. So I know that's a hot topic. If you guys want to follow him, they'll be in the show notes. Played college volleyball. Tom, what didn't you do? No. So I described what you do, different things, but if you had to describe, I'm getting right into it right now, who you are without these things, what would you say?
This wasn't on the show notes.
I know. Tricked you.
He's got to, throw something curveball at me right away.
Always.
Who am I without all of these things? This is always been something that has been fairly tough for me to decipher, but going through, the mindset course with Calm has really helped. So I would say I am a husband. I am a caring person. I am a empathetic person. I am, there's a lot of things like that you go through in the course and the mindset course, and it's like you get to choose what you are, right? And there are a bunch of I am statements that you can come up with, and you get to choose what they are. You get to choose what you want your identity to look like. You get to choose what your priorities are. You get to choose what your values are. And so that has been super beneficial for me. But yeah, who am I without all that? I would say that's where I'm still, I would say, in the process of creating exactly what I want myself to look like and the way I want to act and the things that I, live. Everyone, I think, wants to be able to live through their values and live through their priorities. But in order to do that, you need to actually take the time, and they're going to change maybe a little bit along the way, but you need to take the time to sit down and think, what actually are my priorities? What are my values? And what do I want my identity to be? And then if you're not quite living that way, then maybe it wasn't a priority, or it's not a real value of yours, or you need to, change some of your actions in order to shift that way, in order to live through those. So it's something that, I've always struggled with a little bit, but it's starting to come together for sure.
Well, I mean, you're under 30 still. We're both pretty young, and I don't know if anyone ever has it really figured out. So, but how you answered that was fantastic. And I think you touched on a lot of different things. So one of the components of the flywheel, right? There's 5 components. One of them is purpose. And within that purpose is our identity, right? Like our core values, our vision, our mission. What are we gifted at? Like, what are those things? So talking in a team sense. So you're the COO of the gym, and we work really well together in a lot of things because I'm more abstract and I'm up in the clouds a lot of times, and you are able to bring it down and make it something and do all you like to analyze things. And I think that's where you can take these individual purposes or pieces of the identity of giftings and collaborate. And that's when things start to, they're produced and they become all they can be. So now we got on a tangent there. We did say before the show, you said we'll probably get off topic, and that's okay, because that's what a podcast is for. This time's for us. And if anyone wants to listen in, good for them. So you have been a coach at the gym for 5 years now. And what What brought you into the health and fitness industry? What interested you? Why are you passionate about it?
I think that stems from growing up playing almost every sport I could. I just really wanted to, you know, stay active throughout the rest of my life because I know how fun like sports were and being part of a team was, and how much I enjoyed being active during those things. Um, I had a family that was fairly active, I would say. Like as soon as we would like be finished supper up at the lake with like my aunts and uncles and cousins and whatnot, the aunts would be like, "Hey, time to go for a walk," and then we'd get up and go for a walk, like
Mm,
evening walk right after supper, or we'd like bike everywhere at the lake as well. Um, and so it started there, and then growing up, like obviously had a few injuries playing sports and stuff like that, and was able to get rehabbed through physio and stuff like that. So that's initially where my mind was coming out of high school. I think in like grade 10 or grade 11, I was like, yeah, I want to shoot for physiotherapy because I liked helping bring athletes from injury back to, performing and having everything move well and properly again. And that's where it started. And then got into the University of Alberta at Augustana, and, went through the full degree course or full degree there for 5 years, and played volleyball the whole time. Loved that. Had a blast doing that. It was the one spot in the ACAC that I could get a full degree and play full 5 years all at one spot, which is what I wanted. And was a, small town feel as well, coming from a small town
mhm.
Saskatchewan. A smaller college was really good.
Yep.
And then, yeah, so applied for physiotherapy, got granted the interview, which was awesome. And then that was, I know it's sometimes a question that comes up is like, talk about one time you failed. And technically, that's a big one time that I feel like I did fail, because I got the interview and then didn't get into physiotherapy. So it's kind of like, what do you do after that? What do you do with that? And I quickly pivoted and was always thinking about potentially going back to physio. I know the first couple of years with me at the gym, that was a question that you and Deanna kind of asked me quite often, like, what are your long-term plans? And at
Yep.
that point, it was still going back to physio after the first year or so. Um, and then, yeah, I just kind of got into coaching and started learning a lot more about movement and coaching in general, and really started to fall in love with what I was doing there. And then we started taking, some other courses, and we've developed the movement resolution service in our gym as well, which is kind of like a bridge between the typical physiotherapy world and returning athletes back to, full sport mode. So getting
Yep.
them that, because quite often when people come off an injury, they're maybe not 100% ready to step right back into, you know, full on sport mode right away. Like they're not ready to go back into uh, game shape quite yet. So that's been really cool now, is that kind of it's almost come full circle of like where I wanted to be is now actually, because like if I were to be a physiotherapist in my head, maybe, I mean, different physiotherapists are definitely different, but in my head, it would be like I could get them from point A to point B, but we need to get them from point B to point C in order to get them back
Mm,
to, being really where they should be in order to get back to sports. So it's kind of like I'm helping them with that final phase, and being a past athlete, like I can understand kind of what they're going through, being having gone through my own injuries as well, of like when you do get cleared by physio, you're really not ready 100% yet. So
no.
helping them with that final phase and bridging that gap for them has been really cool. So I've kind of been able to do what I set out to do initially, which was to help people get overcome injuries and get back to full functioning, and like full capacity of what they want to be able to do, and even like help them prevent and reduce the risk of injuries in the
Yep.
future through that. So that's been pretty cool. That's where it kind of all started. And then, yeah, it's kind of cool how it's come full circle. And now there's so much more that we do, aside from obviously helping reduce and prevent injuries, like the whole holistic approach to what we do. at the gym through fitness, nutrition, and mindset is way more than what I initially thought I was going to be able to do. And it's been, yeah, very cool to look at the holistic approach to health and fitness, and, not get so stuck on just one aspect of it, and realizing that there's so much more that goes into it. I'm sure I would have gotten into that regardless of what profession I got into. I
Mm-hmm.
would have started to understand that, but this this gym has really, brought it out in a fairly short amount of time, I would say. And it's been really cool to see how things have changed along the
Yeah.
last few years, and how much it's expanded, and, all the different things that we are able to do, and the way that it's impacted people. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. You touched on a lot of cool things there. And like movement resolution, like you mentioned, we've been developing that for 5 years now, 4 or 5 years. Well, a bit year after you started, I guess.
Hmm.
So probably 4 years. And it's just about helping the client, right? That's what you mentioned. Whatever platform that is, whatever way we can do that, it doesn't have to be, hey, I'm a physiotherapist. So what I'm trying to say is it's not the modality, it's the platform that you can help them with. Like if you are really passionate about physiotherapy and bringing them from that acute injury to then working with something like the movement resolution, to bridge the gap back to activity, and activity being for athletes or just maybe the person who just wants to go for a hike, right? So that might be your niche, or movement resolution, which is a gap between physiotherapy and strength and conditioning coaches. Maybe that's your platform. Maybe that's your niche to help. Or maybe it's a strength and conditioning coach. So you just want to work with people who don't have injuries or chronic pain. Um, I think sometimes we get so caught up on, even outside the fitness industry, on limiting ourselves to this one thing, right? And in reality, if you take all your giftings and you take what you're passionate about and you package it together, it's going to help people. It's going to be of service too. And then talking about the holistic health and fitness aspect, it we've become, and we talk about this often, and I like to converse with you on this. We become so focused on one aspect of the person, right? We become so focused on saying, hey, if this person just eats really, really well, they'll be healthy, they'll live for a long time. No, you have to look at the whole picture, the whole human. You have to put time and energy into all these different things. And that's community, that's connection, that's a sense of purpose, right? That's nutrition, um, that's faith or spiritual, and that's mental too. And that's where they've found out in certain areas of the world, like blue zones, they have the highest per capita, highest number of centenarians per capita than anywhere else. And that's because they do all these things. They're not perfect in any one of them, but they have put energy into this flywheel, right? The spokes they all have pressure on so the wheel can roll.
Yeah, that's a really cool concept. And if you haven't listened to or read it's called The Blue Zones, the book. I believe that's the title of it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's very cool to see how different those cultures are. Like, even from the perspective of, I think, did you and Louis talk about this on your podcast? I'm
Yeah,
pretty
we
sure
did.
you guys talked
Yep.
about the blue zones a little bit. It's going to come up again, but that's okay. I liked how the emphasis in there, obviously, yeah, holistic health, like there's a community aspect, there's a lot of activity, there's fairly good nutrition. It's not like they're perfect. Like, they're talking about, they drinking like a bottle and a half of wine a day in some cases, but like, you know, they are still very happy. And I think that maybe is a lot of the reason for it. Like, chronic stress from what
Yes.
we have here. Like, I forget where we went to this summer, or last summer. We went to Gabriel Island. So like some of the islands out, well, the islands out in BC, and the people out there are just so, I mean, I don't know if they live longer, but they are so much more relaxed than we are. And like they asked where we were from. We said, oh, like Edmonton area. And they said, oh, you guys are really high strung. Like someone said that, like you guys are really like high strung and like just in a hurry all the time. And I mean, I think that's maybe part of this holistic health and fitness thing too. And that's a big part of the blue zones is that their stress level on a day-to-day basis is so much lower than ours is. And I think sometimes a lot of the stress levels that we have are self-manifested too. Like it depends on what your input is, I would say. Like if you aren't getting good quality input, or you don't have like that community aspect like you talked about to talk to people about these things and maybe vent every once in a while when you need to, or you aren't taking, we've talked about mini vacations throughout your day. Like if you aren't taking 20 to 30 minutes to take some time for yourself to relax and like completely unplug, and find something that, like, if it's, even if reading a book or sitting down on the couch and doing literally nothing, just thinking for a little while, all of that stuff can tie into reducing your chronic stress levels. And that was one of the big things, in the blue zones that they talked about was, we today, I mean, may live to 80 on average, but these blue zones, they're living another 20 years and like living well for another 20. So there's got to be something to be said about that. And if we can, through this holistic health approach, dial in on reducing stress, and we know that comes from, good nutrition as well to reduce a little bit of inflammation and being active, and also that whole community aspect, then we are also in turn going to live longer and healthier. And when you think about like where these people are living, it's outside in like a small village for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
You look at that versus like downtown New York or Toronto or something like that, like how crazy those places are. Of course, you're on high stress and high alert the whole time. Like there's just, noises and movement absolutely everywhere. So you're always on high alert and your cortisol levels are up. And when your cortisol levels are up for an extended period of time, that is not obviously great for our body. It's meant to be there. We need it. That's kind of part of our fight or flight thing. We need that before we work out, or if we're being chased by a bear, you need that to kick on. But when it's constantly kicked on, that is, something that can be detrimental long term. So finding 100%. Strategies to reduce that, like we've talked about. I know the mindset course is great at working with that. And then, but it's like we've talked about, like you get to choose what your identity is. You get to choose what or you need to find, I guess, what does replenish you and what does, help you reduce your stress levels a little bit. And that can take some time and effort, but I think it's definitely worth pursuing and taking the time to find out, because if it can give you an extra 10, 15, 20 good years, I would take that.
Yeah. And talking about the community aspect, and that's a mission. That's a legacy goal of mine, and it's obviously a legacy goal because I'm not going to ever see it. I'm never going to know, but I would love to help create Camrose as one of the blue zones in the world. And that's going to take time, and that's going to take a lot of things and a lot of talented people. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it to create micro blue zones, right? Like you're talking about New York being super busy, but you could create micro little blue zones in there. Just you build this economy around that lifestyle that they have, right? We get so caught up in the rat race and seeking. So this is my thing, is seeking too much comfort, right? Seeking too much comfort. You need stress. You need good stress in your body. Like cortisol is not bad to an extent, but you have to be able to recover from it. And when you recover from it, your body adapts. Because essentially when you're working out, what's happening is your body's saying, hey, you're trying to kill me. Why are you trying to kill me? Well, I'm going to get stronger. So I don't get to this point next time. And then you make it a little harder. But what we don't see and we don't understand is it's these chronic habits, these poor chronic habits over time that are equaling out to a lot of chronic conditions, right? There's a reason we have so much chronic illness in our society today. And we've talked extensively about this, Tom, is that we're going to continue to look for an acute fix for these chronic issues. But I picture it as this huge problem behind us that we don't want to look at. We just want to say, no, let's look for something quick. I need something quick. I need to lose weight fast. I don't want to look at this thing because it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be hard, but you have to, if you want to live a long, healthy life and live well, you have to put the time and effort in. You got to invest that time and energy and get a little uncomfortable and have some self-discipline, eat well consistently, like more so than just seeking comfort food. Get outside, be in connection with people, do what you're passionate about. And that doesn't have to that doesn't mean it has to be your job, right? Like that could be a huge overhaul to do and could be pretty stressful in itself, but pursue a hobby, pursue something outside your work. They've shown, they did a study that people who have a greater sense of purpose have been shown to live 15% longer. Right. And it all ties back to stress levels and our body not being constantly in this fight or flight stage, which leads to inflammation and all these other things. That inflammation leads to sickness, and we attack. I'm on a soapbox now. We attack the symptoms. We're attacking the symptoms of the problem. Right. And I'm not a medical expert by any means. So when I talk about this, don't take what I'm saying, but start to research and start to look at it. We're just attacking the symptoms when in reality, we need to change people's lifestyle and those symptoms will go away.
Exactly. Yeah. I know CrossFit has a really good model, right? Starts with sickness and goes all the way to wellness and then to fitness. And the more you do all these tiny little things repeatedly, the healthier and fitter you get. So you start moving away from this sickness side. And I'm doing this because that's what the model looks like. How about whoever can see? It's basically like if you're listening to this on a podcast, it's basically like a semicircle, like an arc of a semicircle, basically.
A gas tank.
Yeah. So yeah, the gas tank meter in the car there. That's a good way of looking at it. So if you get as far to the full side would be, fitness. There you go. Full fitness. So that's always
nice.
That's on the far side.
Patent.
So yeah, patent it. So that I guess more full you get the tank, obviously the less or the more further you can drive until it's empty. And so if you get all the way to the side of fitness, anytime any sort of little sickness or stress comes around, you're going to be better able to handle that. Maybe you go from all the way over here at fitness, and maybe you go to down to a half tank at wellness, let's say, but you're still doing okay and you can rebound back and get back to fitness fairly quickly. But let's say if you're on this side you're closer to the empty side or closer to the sickness side and something happens to you, now you are in a lot more trouble than maybe you would be, if you had taken the time to put a little bit more effort into your nutrition or your fitness and exercise and, your stress management and stuff like that we talk about. So that's kind of where it is important, obviously, because we want to live long, healthy lives, but it also creates that huge buffer for you as well. Like should something terrible happen to you, you have this buffer where now you aren't going to be in serious danger should something happen to you. Well, shouldn't say not. Like if you get hit by a bus, then it's maybe not going to, maybe won't save you, but all these other little things that add up, you can definitely, create that buffer for yourself.
Yeah. yeah, if you fill up your gas tank in terms of getting towards fitness and you're closer to fit than you are well, you're a fit individual. If you get an injury and you're laid up for a while, you're going to move towards wellness. But that's a lot different than if you're like on the other side of wellness towards sickness and you get laid up. Then what happens? Right? Like you still have the ability to invest in your health and fitness, but it's going to take a long time and you're going to get closer to that empty, for this example, area. So it really then coaching comes down to like we as coaches is guiding and empowering people and helping them make decisions for themselves because we're responsible for our own health and fitness. And we've become very reliant on other people for our health and fitness when in reality it's not. Like these bodies aren't rent free. Eventually something's going to be due on them, right? And we have to invest in it daily and do things that are slightly uncomfortable in order to keep developing it and keep making it better.
You've said it before, make it a priority before it prioritizes you.
Yep.
That's kind of the
I always think of
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, if you need to make your fitness a priority or your eating habits a priority now. If you don't do that now, then you're going to end up, not guaranteed, obviously don't think this is every time, but you're more likely to end up in a hospital and have somebody tell you, you now need to change your diet or now you need to exercise. So we've talked about it before. Maybe you'll never see what you were able to prevent, but I would rather not see it happen than have it happen and be like, oh shoot, I should have been doing this the whole time.
Yep. Yeah, we're very reactive, right? We prioritize something once we can see it. But like you just mentioned, it's a good thing if you never see these things. It means you prevented them. It's that delayed gratification piece. If you don't, so this is actually a quote, I think, if you don't prioritize your health now, you'll have to prioritize your sickness later.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes the ability to be patient and have the foresight and be forward thinking and saying, I need to do this today. And that's not just health and fitness like that, or just physical. That's the whole flywheel. Even think relationally, like with my wife, with Jaleesa. I need to invest daily. I need to invest daily in ways that she feels loved and love her every single day. Because it's still something that makes me human. It makes me healthy and fit, having good relationships for sure. So I kind of got on a tangent there, but I love that we're using analogies because people that know me well, I love analogies, and thinking of analogy for prioritize now or it'll prioritize you later. Think of you have your car or your truck or your vehicle, whatever it is, and you need to check your tires every once in a while, right? You need to make sure they're tight. You need to do all this. But if you don't do that, right? If you don't prioritize it just for a small fraction of time, even just like it takes a minute to check it, well, maybe eventually you lose a tire. And that's a way bigger deal that's going to take way more time and energy and could lead to something not great if you lose a tire while you're driving on the highway compared to taking a minute or two to check it. And that's the same thing with our health and fitness. The 60 minutes or half an hour you put into exercising is way easier. Like that micro discomfort is way easier than being laid up in the hospital bed and not being incapable of doing things. And that's a hard thing to say, but that's truth, right?
Yeah, it's a harsh reality, but I think you've said it before too. I think like it's maybe harsh, but like that doesn't mean that you don't get to do it. Like you still have to do it. Like,
yeah,
shouldn't say have to. Like no one's forcing you to work out for 20, 30, 60 minutes a day. Nobody's forcing you necessarily to, we talk about the 80-20 rule all the time with nutrition. Like 80% of the time you're on point eating a healthy, well-balanced meal, and you give yourself 20% for, treats. No one's forcing you to do that, but internally it's like that's something that you still have to do if you want to, live long and live well, like we've talked about.
Yep. Yeah. You don't get a free pass.
Non-negotiable. Yep.
Yep. You can't sneak past these things just because you don't want to prioritize it and you don't like that you have to. It's not going to be like sickness isn't going to be like, oh, you're right. You don't have to. We'll let you buy. No, you have to. And the more we think the opposite of that, like feeling like we don't have to, the more we're going to rely on acute fixes. So this has been a good side tangent. I enjoyed this. So you're a coach, right? You enjoy coaching. What is your most memorable moment as a coach so far? This is a hard one.
Yeah, because I don't think I can't recall like one specific memory. I don't think. Like, it's a lot of just, I guess, like the satisfaction of helping somebody get to where they wanted to go. That's always huge. Because like we talked about before, it's like we're trying to help them get to where they want to go. It's not up to me to decide where I think they should go. It's okay, this is where they want to go. How can I help them get there? And what modalities can I use in order to help them get there? You want to help them get there quickly, but you also want to, make sure that we're not cutting any corners, like they're also building the correct habits in order to sustain that longer term.
Yep.
So, I guess a particular example that I can think of. So it's not one particular specific moment, but helping somebody who was told they should never deadlift again after a pretty serious accident, helping them come through that, and just started out with like hinging up against a wall, like pushing your butt back to the wall and then standing back up with a dowel. That was it. And seeing that person progress all the way to deadlifting over 100 pounds again without pain is absolutely that was awesome. And like just seeing them get there, and kind of like I get satisfaction, I guess, from like when somebody tells me I can't do something, or when somebody tells somebody else that they can't do something or shouldn't do something, like that has always fired me up. And so like kind of sticking it to the man or the system or whoever told that person that they shouldn't or couldn't ever deadlift again is like, screw you. Like we're gonna show you that, like this person can. And that's something that is usually like, those make up the best memories, I would say, of when you've done something for somebody that they were told that they could never do again.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we've both been through our journeys in that, like touching on words are powerful in that way, right? Like people need to know the impact that can have on someone, like saying you can never do this or you should never do this. Maybe they won't, but you're not your right to say that. That has a mental effect on someone. That has a mental impact. So I was told to never squat below parallel again, to stop lifting weights and become an endurance athlete or runner. And again, I know I need to get uncomfortable and run more, but I'm 6'6" and 225. It's a toll on my body to run, and I don't really enjoy it. And for someone to say that, because I had a back injury, it fired me up, like you said. And I started to seek out things, and you always seek out medical advice, right? Like there's points to an injury where you should not be lifting weights and stuff like that. You might need acute intervention like surgery. But what happened with this one was like, hey, I seeked it out. I found out, I went to a lot of different healthcare professionals that did the modalities of um, ultrasound, activate this specific muscle. And I was like, this doesn't seem right. How is my back going to heal? How am I going to be able to do things in this life? How am I going to be able to lift weights again if I'm just having this ultrasound? Like that's going to bring the pain down. And that's what they're finding out more and more is these should not be the interventions we use to heal people. They can bring pain down. They can facilitate healing. They can bring inflammation down. But you're going to have to begin put the work in to create some sort of stress response in your body, put some sort of load on your body. And that's going to look different for different people based on their goals. So long story short, I was told that I would never be able to do these things again. And that's where moon resolutions stem from, is this understanding that don't let others limit you. Because even if it isn't possible, why start there? Why start with saying it's not possible, you shouldn't? Because then you're going to stop from trying anyway. Might as well try. You're muted, Tom.
Oh, sorry. You
You're
just
good.
eliminate that, like you just eliminate that possibility from them, like,
Yep.
or
Yeah.
you can, and maybe that's something that was really, like you said, really, really important to them. And then that is, it can be devastating. I know one of the questions on the show notes was about a book that I have read that's been the most impactful, and I'm not done it yet, but it actually talks about, how miracles in the Bible, the author assumes that they happened. And you could say, like, if someone was told to never, deadlift again and now was able to deadlift, like in hindsight, like, hey, maybe that is kind of not a miracle, but I mean, we assume that like that's like miracles just happen like instantaneously.
Right.
But in this, it's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon
Hill.
He talks about the law or the rule of autosuggestion, which is basically like you surround yourself with, affirm what you want to accomplish, what your deepest desire is, and then you repeat that in your head, like over and over and over and over again, and tell yourself, what am I willing to do to get to where I want to go? What is my deepest desire? What am I going to do to get it? What are the specifics? When am I going to reach it by? And he was saying that like that through that rule of autosuggestion and constantly surrounding yourself and being kind of encompassed in what you truly want to achieve, whatever that is, you can accomplish that through this rule of autosuggestion just by, repeating that, and obviously putting in the effort too, like we've said. But if you believe that you are going to get to where you want to go, it will happen. And he was like, he's like, as far as I know, like that's the only explanation that he can find anyway for why miracles happen. And I thought that was a pretty cool take on that.
Yeah. And that's hard for me to then we're going into the understanding miracles and stuff too, which this great segue, like that's a part of the flywheel. And for me, it's my relationship with Jesus, right? That's my faith. And so even going into that and saying this past couple of years, like this past 14, 16 months has been really hard. And people often ask why I'm still okay, or why I'm optimistic, or why you're seeing this stuff, right? And for me, it's that relationship. It's that faith. and to know that there's hope regardless of what's going on in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then that puts everything in perspective. Like, money doesn't matter, right? None of these things matter. They're all finite. And the more hope and reliance we put on for our joy, the further we get away from that promise we've been given. And this isn't turning into a sermon or anything. Hopefully it's not, but I think you touched on a really good thing there, and I know that's the idea of purpose. That's what purpose means to me, right? We've been given a purpose, this divine purpose from God. And we often waste a lot of our gifts and our talents and our missions. I shouldn't say that. I should say that we waste a lot of time out of fear and limiting ourselves. And I know you're talking about, like, I think Napoleon Hill talks about financial success and things like that. But for me, it's we're limiting ourselves in that relationship because we're living out of fear. And there's a lot of things that happen, a lot of good things that happen in bad times. And there can be, and we can be a vehicle for that as well. So thanks for bringing that up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
If you could impart some wisdom on those listening to start their health and fitness journey, like they're stuck. They've tried everything. They are frustrated. They just want to give up. They see everyone else doing these amazing things, or they think, I could never do that. I'm scared to step into a gym. I know I just asked a bunch of questions in one question. And go.
Start small and seek out help would be my two biggest words of advice there. I mean, yes, we're coaches, but and obviously, like, you're like, oh, he's got a reason for saying to seek out help, but we seek out help too. Like, coaches have coaches. We understand the importance of a coach or a mentor in all different aspects of our life. And so seeking out that help can give you that accountability to get started and stick to it, especially at the beginning. Because, and what I mean by start small at the same time is, like, we need to slowly build it up. Like, you see all these people doing all these amazing things on social media or whatnot. That is a culmination of years and years and years of small, consistent habits built up over time. And yes, we usually I think, like, the world of Instagram and social media in general is just, like, not, some of it's fake, but I mean, you see everybody's highlights. You don't see, like, most of the time, you don't see, like, the struggle that it took to get there or the journey that it took to get there. So starting small and choosing one thing to start with, whether that's you want to start moving for, like, if you want to start with going for a walk every day for 10 minutes and that's your start. Or if it's, I want to get in one vegetable at supper and that's your start. Or, I drink, not saying I do, but if, like, you're somebody who drinks 2 liters of Coke a day, and before you can still drink your 2 liters of Coke, but before you drink your 2 liters of Coke, you have 1 glass of water, right? So, like, starting super small and building habits is probably one of the hardest things that you will ever do. To build a habit takes a long time of you sticking to it consistently. And that is where the accountability and getting help comes in. So it's kind of 2-in-1 there for pieces of advice. I would say start small and get some help. It doesn't even need to be a paid coach. It can be a friend, an accountability partner. I know for this, well, now our gym is shut down for the 3rd time. And so for myself, the first shutdown was pretty good for working out. I had people there working out with me. We were able to do cohorts. It was great. Second shutdown, cohorts weren't allowed. I was all by myself. and I worked out maybe 3 times in the 3 months. Like seriously, like
Yep.
coaches struggle a lot too.
Yep.
We can't pretend that we're all perfect all the time.
Yep.
And so this third time, my accountability partner, for lack of a better term, is posting my 20 minutes of movement every single day onto social media, just to, I have now put it out there publicly that I am going to do this every single day, and I'm going to post every single day. And so if I miss a day, inevitably somebody may, message me and be like, hey, what, like, didn't see a post from today. I know that's going to be you if I miss it, but,
Yep.
but, so that's another way of, providing accountability. It could just be a friend as well, that, you have somebody to message back and forth and check up with. And it also, it could be a coach as well, if you're looking for a little more guidance and professional help on that. But the accountability is, to me, is basically obviously a huge step, but it's just doing what you said you were going to do and following through on that. Yep. So if you verbalize it to a friend, to a coach, to social media, you verbalized what you were going to do, and now you are accountable to that. So in summary, start small and get some help, or in some way find a tool or a person that is going to help you stay accountable.
Yeah. Results favor the consistent.
Did you just make that up, or is that a thing?
I wrote it down. Now, I don't know if someone else knows if it's someone else's quote, but I'll put Matthew Chenard underneath of it right now. No, but it's true, right?
Yep.
And when we talk about, we're basically talking about compounding habits. So the next question was actually about crypto, but we can talk about investing, and preface this by saying you're not financial advisor or anything like that. So take this again with what you will. I feel like I'm saying that a lot here. But habits compound, right? Good and bad habits compound, right? They become harder and harder to get out of, or they build and build and build, which is essentially what you're talking about, Napoleon Hill. That's what it is. It's just, they compound in a good way, in many different ways of our life, or in a bad way. Now, let's use the analogy of this. And I'm so thrilled again that I can use a lot of analogies. We wouldn't think that we can go into the gym. Like, let's say to get results in a month, in the 30-day period, we need to work out for 30 hours, to keep it simple. Now, would we expect to go into the gym for 30 hours on the first day of the month and get the results we want? No, you'd be wrecked, right? Your body would need so much time to recover. And then once you recovered, it would, like, the supercompensation thing or law would not be happening. But if you invest an hour every single day, that small investment, that small habit, that would equal out to your results you desire over time. If you continue to do that, it's 1% better every day. So that's where it's a principle. And that's where, if you want to tie it back into, let's say, cryptocurrency investing. And so again, Tom is on TikTok, 46 or 47,000 followers, and
just hit 50K today. I just
50K. There you go. So there's principles in investing. So I'm giving this to you. Can you tie that back? Like, would you rather invest small little bits and let them compound, or put a lump sum into something that might not work?
Well, yeah, it depends on the investment, I guess.
Yes. Let's maybe crypto's not the good example.
No, because it is extremely volatile. But I know, like, a lot of people are successful with something that is called dollar cost averaging, which is basically like you commit to a certain amount that you are going to invest into a certain project or cryptocurrency. Let's say it is Bitcoin or Ethereum. Like, you commit to a small amount every week or every month or something like that. And that strategy is called dollar cost averaging. And you can set up these automatic payments, basically. And I'm sure a lot of different accounts have the same thing. So just, it's not a cryptocurrency term, like it's just investing in general. Like, you could put $100 a week into your TFSA or something like that. And it's that strategy more often than not works better than the people that are trying to, make these big home run trades or make a big home run investment or something. You will get the odd person that, is very, very skilled, but usually they've been working at this for a long time, years and years and years.
They've built a foundation.
They've built a foundation, and they've been looking at the charts and the graphs every single day. So that's also where the consistency comes in. So yes, maybe they are consistent with a different strategy, but they have been in it for a long time, and it's taken months or years to slowly accumulate all this knowledge and understand it a little bit better. But yeah, so I guess hopefully that kind of tied it back to, small consistent habits, and, more often than not, the smaller things done consistently is more successful in the long run.
And what you said, auto deposit, was called dollar cost average. Is that was?
Mm-hmm.
And you said auto deposit, right? Like small investments automatically depositing. Like it's a no brainer. Like you've had the self-discipline to make it happen. Like obviously technology does that, but when we're talking about tying it back to fitness, it becomes automatic when you do it enough. You build momentum.
Like we talked about, it's another non-negotiable. It's just automatic. It's happening regardless. Yeah.
Yeah. So go into your calendar, whatever calendar, if you use a written calendar or Google, whatever you use, make it so it auto deposits. So what I mean by that is block it out. Block out your fitness. And that's a non-negotiable. Like you're investing your time, because time is investment. Time is a currency. And I think one of the most valuable currencies we have. So make it so you're, yes. Yeah. Because it equals out to everything else.
Yeah.
It equals out to all the payouts. How you spend your time will dictate the results you get. So if you auto deposit into what I call them, the important aspects of your life. So family, friends, for me, it's faith, fitness, my professional life. And you have to have those reoccurring, because again, it's your responsibility.
Yep, absolutely. It's like you can't, those auto deposits, like you said, they are non-negotiable. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things. Like by non-negotiable, I mean, like nobody's forcing you to do them, but if you don't do them, like we said, what's the alternative, or what's going to be the result if you don't? And like life isn't going to give you a free pass if you don't work on your marriage, if you don't work on your health and fitness or whatever it is.
Yep. We get warning signs, right? And relationally, physically, mentally, there's warning signs. It's an indicator that we need to focus on them. You might not get warning signs if you consistently focus on them, right?
Right.
Opposed from an anomaly or something that you don't have any control over. So this is good. I'm writing down a lot here, Tom, which I love. So I talk about purpose a lot, and at the start of the show we said, or this episode, that even having Neville came to say hi. Okay. So those of you can see on YouTube, Neville's here. What kind of dog is Neville?
He is a border collie golden retriever cross.
Border collie.
His mom was a golden retriever. His dad was the border collie.
Cute puppy. Yeah. So 15%, and someone can fact check that and let me know if I'm wrong, but I think it was 50% longer, even by having a sense of purpose. Now, going into that is actually pursuing passions. I think it's really important to pursue passions. And you're obviously passionate about, I don't know if it's crypto in general or just investing, or that's what I'm going to ask you. Why are you passionate about this?
It's one of those things that, well, one of my main, I've got it written as like my why in life is kind of to help people eliminate false narratives so that they can, live a life of family legacy and significance is kind of, I think, how I worded it. So
Powerful.
It comes back to, eliminating these false narratives. And what I talked about initially when I was talking about the person who, was told to never deadlift again, it's one of those things that fires me up. And I guess, maybe goes against the flow a little bit, or encouraging people to, and asking questions and encouraging people to think a little bit differently. Because like, in order to do, what's the saying? In order to do what others can't, you need to be willing to do what others won't.
Yep.
So I know, like, a little while, like while I started with, I guess, crypto in general, and that whole world was back in when it was going through its last major cycle back in 2017, I did get interested in it, and I started reading up a little bit on it in 2017, 2018. I remember making a poll, I think, on Instagram, asking people like, what do you think? And I got responses back like, oh, it's a scam, it's a hoax, like there's way better places that you could be spending your time and your money and stuff like that. There's way better things you could be doing. And I listened to that. And not that, I mean, in hindsight, obviously, like, it would have been good for me financially to not have listened to that. But it's also one of those things that, like, when everybody is saying, it's one of those examples where when everybody is saying one thing, it's really hard to go against the grain. But quite often going against the grain, or taking the path of, people take the path of least resistance, but we should be taking the path of greater resistance sometimes, because it is harder. And that is quite often where, like we talk about with health and fitness, like it's hard to do it. It doesn't mean it's like it's simple. It doesn't mean it's easy. It's hard to do it, but that is the road that is more beneficial for us. So in hindsight, it was like, I shouldn't have listened to everybody, and financially I would be way further ahead of where I am today. But you also learn from those mistakes. And this time around, I decided to trust my own gut and go with, what I had originally felt the first time, which was a financial system that is going to overhaul the current system, right? Mm-hmm. And it's the way that financial system is changing. And I was like, I want to be a part of that and help people become aware of it, and, maybe do some of their own research on it, of course, but just try to understand where the world is shifting. Because I think in 2017, everybody wasn't sure if cryptocurrency as a whole was, is it going to stick around? Is it just a bubble that's going to pop and go away forever? But we're seeing now that it's not, right? We've got institutions flying into it and buying huge sums of it. And I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. And if you don't have at least some exposure to it, I think people are going to be a little bit left behind. But that's just my personal opinion. Like I said, take it with a grain of salt, because I'm not a financial advisor or anything like that. Right. But that's just personally what I've decided to do, because I learned from last time of listening too much to other people's opinions.
Yeah. And so you tied that in really well. So you're talking about a purpose statement, which actually me and you developed through a course I created called the Personal Blueprint, if I remember correctly. So what you've done is essentially you have this lens now, and you can go different modalities, different platforms. I like to call them platforms, right? And you can do the same thing in the gym. Like, you can say, hey, you're told to never like press overhead again. Deep down, that maybe that is the case, but that's not for you to say. So you help them get over that false narrative and live a life of legacy, I think you said. What was the?
Yeah, live a life of family significance. Live a life of, or develop family legacy and significance, something like that. Yeah.
And you're being of service. And those are the things that are fruitful, right? When we're of service of others. You didn't talk about you want to get in crypto because you want to become a millionaire. maybe that'll be a byproduct, but you're doing it to help others. You're doing it to shift the mindset based on this lens of your purpose statement. And that can go into fitness, that can go into your family. And that's the wonderful thing about that. And if anyone's interested, I'm going to plug that in here. Reach out to me and I would be happy to run you through my blueprint course. And I'm going to include all Tom's social media links so you can follow him on TikTok. Like he said, he's starting on Instagram again. To much of my nudging, maybe I helped him a bit start that again because he's very knowledgeable. As you can hear in this whole episode, Tom's very knowledgeable and very skilled, and more people need to follow him in lots of different things. So, closing questions.
Let's do it.
Name one thing on your bucket list.
Almost everything on my bucket list has to do with travel. Both my wife and I love going warm places.
Yep.
And I mean, we have a couple of, I guess, not that they're necessarily warm places, but we have a couple of tours that we definitely would like to do. She's got some Scottish heritage, so we want to do like a Scotland, Ireland, maybe go Sahatacolm, and England trip, like kind of do like that circuit. And then also I've got an aunt that lives in Cyprus, so would love to do if you don't know where. I was going to say that's just off of the coast of Turkey. So would be an amazing spot. Yeah, so do like a Italy, Greece, Cyprus tour, something like that. And then also we've talked about it too, and like a Australia, New Zealand tour as well. I mean, everything has to do with travel basically.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
Getting out to see it. And I remember talking to one of my friends last week about that a little bit, about him and his wife potentially going and traveling a lot, and he like wasn't sure because of wasn't sure because of money. I was like, well, would you have enough money to pay for the trip? And he's like, yeah, like we have enough saved up for going on a trip and stuff like that. And I was like, do it. Like, I mean, I can't tell you what to do, but do it. Like we talked about this before, like time is your most valuable currency. You can always make more money. You can always make it back. You can always find a way to.
Yeah, it's a better possibility than time because it's not possible time.
Exactly. You can find a way to accumulate money if you really, work for it and search it out. But time is going to be extremely hard to get back. Like you can't get it back.
Yeah,
so that's where I was like, just go for it with all these trips. I mean, obviously travel right now is extremely limited, but do those things that are on your butt, or try to find a way to do them. I mean, I wouldn't say, again, not financial advice, but I personally have gotten of the mindset of I'm not going into consumer debt in order to do it. I'm going to pay for everything with cash. I'm not going to debt to necessarily do trips like that and stuff.
Right.
But if you got a way to pay for it, go for it.
Experiences last a lifetime, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's bucket list things. Yeah, it's all based around travel and creating experiences, like you said, and memories together with my wife and potentially some friends who ever want to come with us or are able to come with us. So,
I mean, we would, if you were happy to invite us on one, we probably would love to do that.
That would be fun.
Bring our dogs. The goal is to help people. If you could give one piece of wisdom or advice that you think could help someone, what would it be? One piece.
Aside from start small and get help.
This can be more general if you want.
One piece of advice. Sorry, can you repeat the specific question again?
Yeah. The goal is to help people.
Yeah.
If you give one piece of wisdom or advice that you think could help someone, what would it be?
I feel like I don't know anything. Like the two best tips, I think I already.
That's
said,
good.
But
maybe I asked the question before.
Do an extra one.
Let me ask it this way. What's a statement or something that's been really helpful for you during this hard time, like the pandemic? or a thought?
Yeah. Just, I guess, because when I was, really struggling with staying active and making my own health a priority, I definitely noticed a shift mentally as well. I was like, I don't like the way this is going at all.
Yeah.
And every day you kind of beat yourself up a little bit because you didn't start, or because you didn't do all the things that you said you were going to do, or like the things that you think that you say are a priority to you. You don't do all those things, and then you get really hard on yourself. So I would say for me, it was just whatever excuses you have in your head for not starting, they need to, I know it's hard, but just start.
Yeah.
Like, you can have all the excuses in the book, and they are obviously, I know, like, they have played an impact or had an impact on mindset, but I think in saying this, I guess it would say the only antidote to fear is action. That's the only way that you can overcome any sort of fear or any sort of resistance, is action. And so regardless,
and you find out it's not that scary.
Exactly. So, and it wasn't that scary, or it's not nearly as hard as what you thought it was going to be. So
just start. I like that. Short and sweet, and people can write that somewhere. Last one. What is the most positively impactful thing someone has said or done for you?
This one I didn't think of either, Matt. I should have had this written down. The most positively influential thing that someone has said or done for me. I have no idea.
Well, let's do this. So you can list where you can find you. And if you think of it before the end of the show,
okay,
you can answer. But if not, that's fine. Where can we find you?
On Instagram as Coach Tom Regier. If you are interested, that's Coach Tom, Tom, and then Regier. My last name, everybody spells it differently sometimes, but Regier.
I have to check.
And then that's for more health and fitness, wellness stuff. And then I am also, like Matt said, on TikTok for crypto stuff, and YouTube a little bit. I'm not posting as consistently on YouTube, but TikTok and YouTube as Crypto Cabin, because I don't know, I talk about crypto and I live in the cabin.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
It's nichey.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm having a real blank, and yeah, I'm having a real.
Well, it's not like this has been an in-depth conversation. I don't know why you'd be blanking.
Yeah.
This has been analogies, deep subjects. This has been really great for me. So thank you, Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
And like Thomas said, follow him for crypto, but also he's a fantastic coach at the gym, either online or in person, once we're allowed to do that. So make sure you head to the website in the show links and book your free intro. We'll sit down, talk about your goals, and create a plan with you to get you to results the quickest way possible. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Tom. Check you later.